What's up? Today's been kind of a lazy day for most part. Taking it easy because gotta move the rest of my stuff out of my old house here this weekend. Um, Probably be like Saturday, Sunday. That we'll go there with the U-Haul and get everything out and be done. Um, it's in closing for the buyers now. I'm getting a little nervous, a little anxious, a little excited, kind of a mix of feelings. I'm still kind of overwhelmed. I've been sticking pretty much to just being in hermit mode. I still chat with, like my buddy Nate here and there, and a couple others once in a while, and not like my younger son. But for most part, just kind of keeping to myself. Looking at houses, adding to my list. I've been looking at places from northern Texas to Nebraska and all the way over to Florida. Like I said, I'm looking at places 2,000 to 3,000 miles away and then some. But outside of starting a food cart, food truck type thing once I move, I want to focus on my Lost in Thought Today channel again with, a few things, just keep working on that. But I'm also thinking about starting another channel, focusing more so on teaching people to recognize narcissistic abuse, not just explaining it to them. There's great people that it can follow on here, like Narcissist Daily, Lee Ham from, what is it, it's like Mental Healing or Healness or something like that with Lee Ham. And there's some others. There's some female doctors too, or I don't know if they're doctors. I think some of them are. But they're really good channels too, but they do a really good job explaining. And I think what I want to do is I want to try and maybe get together with some other folks who have actually gone through this type of situation, both with a narcissist and covert narcissist. And although it would be a form of like, I guess you could say reenactment therapy for people involved, it would be good to be able to actually show people what it's like to show them what's going on when it's happening. Because it's not just something that I think that would be beneficial for like people like myself who are on spectrum and don't really recognize people's intentions or body language too easily. Those types of things. But it would also be a good thing even for the neurotypical people out there, I think, to learn from. It may even be something good for those who they themselves are doing this type of abuse, and they may not, if they don't recognize it, it would be a good tool for the person they're with who's trying to make it work, trying to stick by. They recognize there's a trauma bond there, but they're trying to change the direction of that relationship. It might be a good tool for them to be able to show the person they're with, be like, look, doesn't this look familiar to you? It's like putting a mirror in front of people's faces. And so, I mean, it's something that I've been thinking about. Which, like I said, it would involve starting a new channel, which means I plan on, when moving as is, I plan on investing in I want a couple new cameras, one for video. I want to get a new 4K camera, to be honest. And I want to update my setup a little bit when it comes to my video stuff and my photo stuff. I love my camera, so I don't really need to update that right now. Because I bounce between my phone and then my Canon camera. But I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to get maybe a couple people or a small team of people, and they would have to, obviously there's going to be, there's got to be that ability for people to be able to work together real well, and people being not afraid to be able to share their stories in such a way and kind of build from that basis into being able to utilize, being able to create, even from our own experiences, recreate those different experiences to help teach others more about it, to be more aware of it, because men and women both go through it and they both deal with it. And they both, and you deal with both men and women who are committing that type of abuse. And something I firmly believe in is this: toxic personality traits are not genetic, and they're not taught. You don't have a classroom somewhere where they're teaching you how to be a piece of shit. It's observed and absorbed. It's something that you could see, and you don't have to have someone literally teach you. It's something that either you witness or it happens to you, and one of two things happen from that situation. And a lot of times, most of the times, it's not a conscious decision. But if people make that conscious decision to not go down one path versus the other, and that's to repeat that toxic behavior, or to become aware that, wait a minute, I understand where that came from. Majority of your toxic behaviors are going to come from your biggest influences, which is usually going to be your family first and then your friends. And it's recognizing when to have to cut those ties off, or at least making that conscious decision of going, I'm not going to be like that. And for most, it's not a conscious decision. They either don't be like that just by nature, or they end up repeating it. And that's the part I think, or the goal that I think we want to avoid is to keep those cycles from repeating. And maybe even those people out there who are in those types of relationships who do actually care about each other, they can see it, recognize it, and get some help maybe, or cut their ties and go separate ways. Depending on the severity of what they're going through, or how much work they're willing to put into it. But these are just ideas that I've been having on it. I definitely want to work more on my Lost in Thought Today channel. Of all ironies, I'm kind of missing doing the whiteboard, the little whiteboard episodes that I like to do once in a while. I also like to be able to somewhat explore some of those, my own curiosities on life, and be able to talk about them a little bit too. Just a lot of random things. I've always been one that if I could afford it and do it, I would go to every country starting in Japan and work my way west from there to learn a piece of each of those countries' culture, history, or whatever, and along with their current, what it was like, their culture was like historically to what it's like presently. And it's not so much necessarily just to learn the human history from each place. It's more or less to try and understand why people function the way they do. Because there is cultural influences, and not just familial influences and all that stuff. There's all kinds of influences that will dictate how you become. It's just what you do with it. Anyways, thanks for watching. That's just my little update ramble type thing. I'll be moving here soon. Probably here in the next month, hopefully. Things with my current home are finishing up and should be done here in the next week or so. So from that point on, given however long it takes for making an offer on a home and going through the whole process, when I find the right one, it might be a month or two out. But things are getting better on my part. It's just I'm dealing with the residual effects from the shit I've had to deal with, and some of the things that are still going on now that I'm just avoiding and limiting and filtering. Once I'm moved, things will get way better. I just have to adjust to the idea of doing this stuff alone. I won't know anybody. I'll be completely by myself, but a part of me is kind of looking forward to it. Yeah, it has me nervous, a little scared. Even at my age, you're moving somewhere 100% alone. I don't think at any age, if there's no nerves going on, then there's probably something wrong with you. But yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching and have a good night. Late.